Good evening, everybody. And it's that time of the week. It's Thursday, it's 8 o'clock, and we have our regular get together. So, a warm welcome to everybody who'll be tuning in across the different platforms. You're all very welcome. We've got a full house here in the studio. And can I just say, actually, just to kick off with, if you enjoy the show, the best way to support me is to buy me a coffee. And the link is below. You can just click, go across, and that support helps keeps the wheels on this thing. You know, I'm not the BBC. I don't have 3.8 billion a year. Although, did you see, actually, interestingly enough, in the past 12 months, I think the BBC's lost about, is it 2 million subscribers? Hi, Joel. Good to see you, and thanks for the coffees as well, Joel. Hi, Lynn. Good to see you there as well. So quite a significant loss. They're crying about the fact that the funding model doesn't work anymore. Yeah, of course it doesn't work anymore because you don't work anymore. BBC needs to be cut loose from the taxpayer and made to make its own way. You know, once upon a time, a quick story before we start in. I remember I used to, once a year, you know, when the BBC, the government does the review of the license fee, I remember I used to go on the Nicky Campbell show on the BBC to discuss this. And I frequently said then just what I say now. BBC, needs to stand on its own 2 feet. If it's as good as they say it is. Hi, Harry. Hi, James. If it's as good as they say it is, it's no bother. It's all going to be fine. If it's not as good as it says it is, well, not my problem. Not my problem. So, we shouldn't be funding the BBC. But anyway, that was a bit of good news I heard today. So, listen, we've got a packed agenda to talk about. And I'll try and put this in a kind of, I'm going to start with the most somber tone and then get to the most ridiculous tone across the next 90 minutes with all your help. So, James says, Nicky Shambles, LOL. Actually, Nicky Campbell wasn't the worst one. There were so many more worse people in the BBC I encountered. Nicky was actually probably one of the better ones, as it happens, James. The BBC has always been infested, as you all know, with the worst possible people. I'm old enough. Actually, Jed, you'd be the same. I'm old enough.
Whoa.
Hang on.
Whoa.
I know.
Hang on, David. You were linking me with being old enough. Old enough for what to start with?
Old enough.
Right, I'll bring everybody else in because we can have a debate about this.
Yeah,
David.
come on in. Right. We're going to start. Let's start on a fun topic. Jimmy Savile. Do you remember, Jed, when Jimmy Savile was the #1 star in the BBC Galaxy? You remember Jim will fix it? Do you remember all that stuff?
Oh, I do. I mean, I'm so glad Jim didn't fix it for me.
No.
Maybe you see what I mean now, knowing what we know. But yeah, everybody watched Jim will fix it, don't they? I think it was on Saturday early evening, wasn't it? If I remember rightly.
Prime time. It was prime time. BBC star, Jed. And nobody knew anything about the fact that he appeared to be a necrophiliac and a paedophile. No one seemed to know that.
David, that seems to run through the BBC though now, doesn't it? You know, so
it does. That's what I'm saying. You know, it's endemic. When you move into the BBC culture, now then, how about that? When you move into it, as I did for a number of years, it was awful. It was really awful. I was never as happy as the day and hour that they banned me permanently in 2016. I was a bad boy because I supported.
Well, why did they ban you, David? Come on, tell us the truth.
Because I was a bad boy.
There's only us four with you. There's nobody else listening. You tell us the truth.
And exactly.
On my shoulder. Go on, mate.
Well, the truth is, and it's a top secret, because I supported Trump publicly and I supported Brexit publicly in 2015-16. They couldn't take it.
Wow, what a crime.
What a crime.
No, I didn't know, David. I wouldn't have even spoken to you since 2016.
If I had been, only I'd been a paedophile, you know, I'd probably still be getting the invites.
Only if you've been Hugh Edwards, eh?
Well, you... Well, or as someone points out, it's the knockout guy. Who was the? That was
Stuart Hall.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
God, yeah.
It seems to run through the BBC though, doesn't it, David?
Does you know? It's a. In fact, if you go to the BBC main place in London, BBC BBC Broadcasting House, there's that infamous statue outside.
Yeah, by Ian Gill or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Well done, Jed. Yeah, who of course was a renowned paedophile. And James Jameson says, "Don't forget Rolf Harris, another really popular." I mean, actually,
yeah,
Jed,
but I'm sure that's not what we're here to talk about tonight, David, is it? We've
No,
got a packed agenda. I'm not moving you on, but we've got a packed agenda.
Oh, I've been corrected. That's what happens for a while. Right. We'll start at the top, and this is a serious one, and that is the murder of Ann Widdecombe, which actually happened, as it turns out, this day last week, but we didn't find out about it until Friday of last week. And when we did find out, I remember doing a podcast on it, and I assumed it was a natural death. There was nothing to say otherwise. And then in a few hours, the shocking news came that actually Devon and Cornwall police said it was potentially a murder, which I think caused a lot of, shock. And then what happened was, I'm going to open up to you guys in a second, but then what happened was, I just want to put the story out there. The police said, don't worry about it. We've arrested a 26-year-old white man. Get that, a white man, 26. Turns out he was a local tradesman, nothing to do with it, but never mind. They then arrested another bloke in Rotherham who was a 28-year-old white man. And then, and the police, meanwhile, were telling us, look, don't be speculating, don't be suggesting it's politically motivated. I mean, just because a politician's murdered, it's not necessarily political, and it's not terrorism. And then just 2 days ago, counter-terrorism police said, yeah, we think it is probably terrorist related, and that's still an ongoing investigation. So I don't want to, because it's an ongoing investigation, don't want to say too much about that aspect of it. But it's been the big news story of the week. And the final thing I'd say is that about 3 years ago, I remember doing a podcast on air with a number of folks, and one of them was Ann Widdecombe. So, it's all been quite shocking for, she was a harmless 78-year-old lady bludgeoned to death, allegedly. And, I've been shocked by it. I've put quite a lot of stuff out about it. And I just go around the group and, Jed, I'll come with you to start with. I mean, Ann Widdecombe was around a long time, senior reform spokesperson as well. And this is how her life ends. I was shocked. What was your response, Jed?
Yeah, at first I just saw the headline that she died, and I got in and said, God, how sad is that? And then within minutes, I came into my office and called up X and found it was a murder. And they jumped, didn't they? The police jumped. Oh, it's a white guy. Of course, it's a white guy. Why? Because that's what you're telling us straight away. Because if it had been any other color, you wouldn't have told us. Yeah.
Yeah,
but and they were definite. No, it's not politically motivated. It's not terrorist related, etc., etc. They couldn't wait to tell us that. It was almost like they had cue cards pre-printed. If Ann Widdecombe gets killed, bear in mind, I just want to add, I watched Yusuf, whatever his.
Yeah, Yusuf. Yeah.
And I watched him, and he did a speech. I only saw it today. It might have been yesterday, or it might have been this morning. And he did a press conference type thing. And he nailed it. And it's been a comment here as well, and I'll put James's back up actually as we speak about it. And it was the bottom line was, he said, if you continue on X and on other platforms, the left wing and politicians alike, calling people who are centre right, calling them far right, as James has said here, Nazis, etc. You see what the left believe, and he said this. What the left believe, and I believe it's true, is they are morally superior to everybody else. Yeah. And therefore, they can justify saying and doing anything to their political opponents. Mm-hmm. And he was right. And he listed a litany of things that have been posted by people threatening to and we're on YouTube, so threatening to Nigel Farage, yeah. And I'll use S and it's gun at the end, so to speak. But it was just on and on, and then people gloating about Ann Widdecombe and her death. I hope it was painful and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
And
saw
I
that.
just think to myself, you cannot be morally higher than anybody if that is the first thing that you go to. That shows how mentally corrupt you happen to be.
Yeah.
If you think you are morally superior and therefore that's exactly what Hitler did. Because Hitler and the Germans thought they were superior to anybody. And that ended up with 6 million Jews being massacred. And that's how it happens. And that is what the left is today. The left, and I'm going to say it, the left is the modern day of the Nazi movement, because they gloat in anything that's gone awry with anybody on centre or centre right. And I think I better let somebody else get in before.
Yeah, okay. So Adrian, I'll come to you next. Adrian, what's your thoughts on the Ann Widdecombe situation?
Oh God! First and foremost, so many things there that Jed said that I'd love to bite back on. To be brutally honest,
go ahead. That's what we're about.
It'll get you banned.
Don't do it then. No, don't. No ban. I don't want banned. No, don't do that.
Like somebody made a comment there about Hitler. Go and listen to the man's speeches in English. You know, you will have a different idea of him. I'm not saying he was right in what he done, but you will look at him in a slightly different way, because he openly said he was fighting against the Rothschilds. But anyway, I'm digressing.
That's the digression. Ann Widdecombe, stick to the topic. Yeah.
Horrible to see anybody getting murdered, and especially somebody like that, you know, a political figure, and had spent her life sort of in that field trying to do the best for this country. It's very convenient timing that this happens when Farage was forced to stand down over his dealings with a £5 million payment for his own personal security. It just seems very, very convenient. It's also very convenient that our police forces seem to be totally inept. They have no idea who to arrest or what to do. They arrest one person, then they arrest somebody else. You know, like, I'm surprised that a lady of that stature doesn't have some form of CCTV around her house.
She did. She did, Adrian. And the police had the CCTV coverage.
That's not what she needed around her house.
And they still managed to arrest the wrong person.
But exactly.
You know?
But your point's right, Adrian. They arrested a 26-year-old local tradesman. That was it. That was instantly did that.
They'd make the Keystone cops look professional, to be brutally honest.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, look, it's horrible to see anybody like that losing their life, and especially in such a brutal fashion, and especially when it is a politician.
But it appears, Adrian, she was bludgeoned to death in her own kitchen. That's what happened last Wednesday of last week.
Like, are we surprised? You know, because the way the left gets on, and the way they whip people up, and they do compare people to Nazis and fascists, and you know, openly, like, look at the death of Charlie Kirk. You know, they were laughing and they were gloating, and they still laugh and gloat about it now. This is the mentality that they breed, and unfortunately, there's some people out there who will be slightly mentally challenged, will believe it all, and think they're doing something for the greater good of society, when the reality is they've just been manipulated to commit a heinous crime that didn't need to be committed.
Well, Grant, Tony, I'll come to you next on this one. I mean, just initially, your reaction to the murder and what we've seen in the past sort of week.
Sorry. It's right. I've got so much to say on this, and I'm conscious that you've got people listening, and I want to put everybody to sleep, so I'll try and edit all of my thoughts. Jed put up a comment from one of our listeners, about how they're still in shock, and I think I am. Yeah. Last year, your podcast, I'm trying to remember the chronology, I think was the day after Charlie Kirk got shot. So it was all still very raw. Yeah. But I submit to all of you guys that if we had, heaven forbid, seen Ann Widdecombe being bludgeoned to death, it would have probably had more of an impact, and maybe you'd have done like an emergency podcast or something on X or something like that. It was so bad for all of us that, if you recall, we did another one the next week, and we pretty much took up all of the time on that one, and I wasn't my usual facetious self on both of those nights as well. Ann Widdecombe, I've always had such tremendous respect for that woman. To me, she was always the. Do you remember that teacher at school that was so strict and didn't take any nonsense from anyone and told you what you needed to know? But you kind of assumed she wanted the best for you, and she wanted you to get the best grades. I've always felt that Ann Widdecombe was that woman. I don't think her views were particularly controversial. I mean, you made a joke earlier about how when you were on the BBC, you were pro-Brexit. Well, that's more than 50% of the adult population. So yeah, I do wonder if we'd, heaven forbid, in an odd way, in a perverse way, it's more shocking for me than Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk got shot and I imagine died pretty instantly. I dread to think about what that. I'm almost crying. I dread to think what that elderly woman.
Yeah.
I can't cry. I'm a Scotsman. What that elderly woman was going through. It should be so much more. Were you gonna? I'm talking over you, David. Go on.
No. Look, fully understand all of that, and I mean, Jed's just stuck up on screen there a post from a friend of mine, Sammy Morrison, who I know well, and this was Anne speaking, actually just up the road from me in Dromore Orange Hall. I know it well, and she had a good sense of humour. Yeah.
She was brilliant. She was very good crack, very good. But can I make a point? About you. I understand you were going to you did interview her at one point, and you were going to interview Charlie Kirk at one point. Now I remember we all it was very somber last year. We were all making the point that people like yourself, David, were targets. And you'll probably get onto the subject of Nigel Farage and the amount of death threats.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
What Jed was saying nailed it. I am sick to the teeth of that side of the argument dehumanizing us. So-called friends of mine posting on social media memes about how people who vote for Brexit are apes and Christians are stupid and conservatives are stupid, non-human, and all the rest of it. I mean, I did say at the time, I actually now think it, and I'm all for freedom of speech, or at least maybe I used to be, I actually now think it should be a criminal offence to post lies about Charlie Kirk or Ann Widdecombe, because they're the sort of things that get people killed. And it's the left who are deep. There are members of my family who voted Brexit. Do you know what, guys? I voted Brexit. And we've got that side of the argument telling us that we deserve to die.
Well, I mean, you're all right. Everyone's basically echoing a similar point, that the left use dehumanizing language against just ordinary people like us, and even centre-right people like Anne, who was pretty middle of the road in so many ways. I mean,
you remember Angela Rayner referring to the Tories as scum?
Oh, yeah, but Grantonio, the last week has shown, and we've seen social media posts by David Lammy, by what's her face, Jess Phillips, the most hideous things said about Ann Widdecombe, and then they all go to the comments and they all act ever so somber. And Paddy, come to you finally. This is Grantonio alluded to. It's kind of like, it's not quite a Charlie Kirk moment, but it is a moment. It's a political. I believe it's a political assassination. That's what I think it is. And I wonder, Paddy, what your take on it is.
I'd say it was definitely a political assassination. I say it's worse than Charlie Kirk because, in one sense, this woman was attacked in her home.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I don't care if it's tinfoil shack or an actual real castle. Your home is your castle. If you people had half the 700 million guns, you should all have a shotgun in your home. No house should be undefended. This poor old woman, this guy came in, busted in her house, bashed her head. And it's just, I'm sorry. Someone breaks into your house, you have the right to defend yourself. And I mean, what other way could a woman of her age defend it against a man of his age?
Imagine how frightened she was.
Oh, petrified. It's probably her last moments were must have been so horrific.
I mean, the thing is, Adrian, I'll bring you in a second, but the horror in this really is that actually, like myself, one of the things that Anne did was she's invited on, on the different talk programs, radio programs, and so on and so forth, and she had been in chats on a WhatsApp chat with the producer of, I think it was, it might have been Radio 5 program, and they were organizing to bring her on. And this is something I get as well. You get all these messages, can you come on and such and such? And the last message that Anne sent was, I think, about 10 past 12. And everything was fine. She was all ready to go on air. And then the messages came and the phone went. There was nothing came back from Anne. And that's why they believe she was murdered sometime round about 12:30 in the middle of the day in her own house, Paddy. In the middle of
broad day. Let's say broad daylight. Somebody had the nerve to get, because there's no consequences. Well, there's no threat that the person can defend themselves, and there's and like I said, and it's just like, I mean, they drive these people that are already at the edge of insanity, and they drive these people with their rhetoric to go after anybody who disagrees. This is not how these conversations are supposed to go. It's you're not supposed to resort to violence.
Adrian, can I just bring you back in? I see you were looking in. Adrian?
Yeah. Do you remember, I think, roughly about 10 years ago, Joe Cox was killed?
Yep.
Can you remember the outcry from the left then?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Compare it to now.
Well, absolutely.
Well, I don't remember anybody on our side of the argument saying that Joe Cox deserved to die.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point I'm trying to make. You know, the left kicked up a massive stink, and rightly so, because the politician, being murdered like that's not right.
But Adrian, Adrian, where the left were all caught out is, and this is the thing Jed and I were talking about at the beginning, when this story first broke, it was simply Ann Widdecombe had died. And so the left then piled in. I mean, Peter Tatchell, most obnoxious. I mean, I remember doing an interview a debate with him. Horrible little man. He jumped on the bandwagon and said the most awful things. And a lot of them said the most awful things about Anne. And then the news came that she'd been murdered. And then they were in deep doo-doo. And they all, Jed, do you remember that? This is what they did. They said horrible things on Friday morning. And then Friday afternoon, they were executing all kinds of U-turns. Jed, they'd been caught out.
That's what the left does. But it's the bottom line is the left think they are morally superior. And therefore, whatever they do justifies the means. And I'm sorry, I'll refer back to the Nazi Party. Whatever they did, because they thought they were morally superior, that's why they did what they did to 6 million Jews. And the left, I think the left is just for the sickos. I think they're just absolute sickos, all of them. Because irrelevant of whether they posted it or not, I can guarantee at the champagne cocktail parties and things that they have, down in SW1, they'll all be agreeing, I agree. I like your post that, Ann Widdecombe is strictly dead. I mean, I showed that one earlier.
Oh, God,
How can that be your first reaction?
Yeah.
To the death of a 79 or 80-year-old woman is irrelevant. Yeah. How can that be your first reaction?
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. And Nicole says there's also Dan Hodges being a great you know what? Oh, he absolutely is. Dan Hodges, who worked for Hope Not Hate in the past, an extreme left-wing organization. And he was, he's been deplorable. I mean, it's been very traumatic this last week or so, I feel. But I wanted to ask you guys this, and just on the actual alleged killing itself. Now, I've got to choose our words carefully. But the fact of the matter is that this guy is the alleged suspect is pictured getting into his car round about 7:51 a.m. on the Wednesday morning. He then had to drive all the distance down to Devon, to where Anne's little cottage was. And as I say, it suggested that she was killed around about 12:30. And then he drove back and he had a pizza, right? That is essentially what we're being asked to believe. And Adrian, I'll come to you in this one first. I struggling with this one because if I've talked to English friends, and Jed, you can come in after Adrian, then you, Jed. Like your road systems get very heavy, congested. He left allegedly on the Wednesday morning, 7:51. He would have had to drive like an F1 driver to have got there somewhere. As far as best to understand, he'd never been before. Got there in a very short time through peak hours on a Friday. Adrian, have you any thoughts about the actual story of how this allegedly happened?
Well, like if that's the case, right, where are all the pictures from him traveling along the motorway with all the the vehicle recognition cameras that they have?
Yep. Yeah.
Well, where's all the images that they've been able to piece this journey together? Because all those cameras will have time frames on them, so we'll know that 11:30 passed this camera and 11:45 he passed that camera. I guarantee you in a few years' time we'll see this guy getting released in a miscarriage of justice. We've seen this multiple times.
Like Gildando.
Barry George. They want somebody now to get people to go away quietly, to forget about it, and then quietly this person will spend time in jail, and then in a few years' time it'll be, so as we got that wrong. So if the police are adamant that this guy broke the land speed record to go from Rotherham down to the southern tip of England in record time, where are the images? Show his car on all the different motorways. Did he stop at a service station to refuel? Surely he would have needed to go to the toilet, get a drink in the really warm weather. So give us all that evidence rather than just saying, it was Billy Bob here, and then 2 days later going, actually, no, it was somebody else.
Well, Jed, I'm coming to you in a second, Jed, but just as Adrian further to that, I was speaking to a former detective inspector friend of mine, and she was making the point that, just as you've said, to do that journey in modern England today, your car will be caught in cameras. If you've stopped off to fill up with petrol, to have a loo break, anything at all, there's going to be coverage. I mean,
where was he driving from?
His mobile phone would have pinged on about. His mobile phone also would have pinged on to God knows how many different cell towers as well.
Yeah. Sorry, Grant.
Cell towers. Are we Americans?
What part of England was he driving from? Was it sort of the north of England?
South Yorkshire down to Devon.
And he left at 7:00 and he got there
7:51 time stamped. 7:51.
So roughly 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 hours.
Just over 4.5 hours, yeah. You can't do it, Grant. I don't think you can do it.
Let me just go to Google. I'll come back in a second. Just one second.
Yeah. So,
Antonio, I used to travel the country from Newbury and Warminster area, and the longest it's taken me to get to where I am was 9 hours. And
no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
All the way.
We're going down conspiracy avenue, and I just, for my own sanity, I just want to check how long Google tells me. Was it Devon that she?
Devon, yeah.
1 second.
A place called Poynton, Poyton. Google it, Poynton. If you go Rotherham to Poynton, you're going to be given, because I've done all this, Grantonio. It's like a 4.5 to maybe 5.5, but it depends on traffic conditions and when you do it. And so, but for this guy to have done it, like Adrian said, he must have driven like a bat out of hell, straight down, straight in, did the murder, allegedly, and then straight back, and apparently he had a pizza when he came back that night. So I don't know. I mean, Jed, do you think that's plausible?
I don't know. It's... is this timing been taken from, for example, CCTV, where he left and when he arrived?
Yeah.
CCTV is notoriously wrong in time and date.
Possible.
I just hit my own CCTV,
Yeah.
I kind of agree. I think it was Adrian that said, is this not just being pushed out so we go away? But actually, I also the comment was made earlier about reform, and I think I think that this may bolster reform, because this is now the main story. And the side story to this is the reform politicians' security, what threats they've been facing. I think Yusuf today did a brilliant speech about it. It might have been yesterday. I saw it today, though, but whatever. And I think this might bolster and wake people up to, hang on, this is political violence. This is terrorism at its highest, and it's on our streets. And I think voters will listen to that. I think voters will listen to Farage and Yusuf and the rest of them, all the good people. All the people, and I'm going to say this, all the people that have been discussing this on things like Talk Radio, Talk TV and GB News. But I listened to one yesterday, and they had Nina
Mishko.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And the garbage that woman comes out with,
awful creature. Awful creature.
Is unbelievable.
Yeah, I had to share a green room with her once. She was awful. Grantonio, I want to bring you in quickly.
No, I think Adrian wanted to say something. I'll let Adrian go.
Sorry, 2 seconds, right? So we're led to believe that this guy suddenly woke up and went, I'm going to drive to Devon, somewhere where I've never been, to a politician's house that I've never been to. I'm going to know her exact movements to know that she's going to be in the house at the moment I arrive. How could he be so sure, having never been in that area before, not knowing her personal schedule, that she would be at home to kill? There's too many loopholes in this that just does not make sense. And that's me, an idiot, thinking out loud about these kind of things.
Right, Grantonio.
Do you understand the points I'm making?
I completely understand.
Yeah,
and I'm not
I do,
trying
Adrian.
to be contrary, but the gospel according to Google tells me it's 4 hours and 34 minutes. I'm just putting the point forward. Are you guys still there? I'm just putting the point forward. It is within the bounds of reason that he did it. We will agree that it's a stretch. One thing I will say is whenever I go on a journey and I put the time in and whatever, and it says it's going to take me 5 hours, I know I can add a half an hour, 45 minutes to that for ABC reason. It was was it a Friday?
It was Wednesday. It was Wednesday.
Wednesday
morning.
God, time flies when you're not having fun, doesn't it? Okay. Was it really Wednesday? Because we know it couldn't have been. It must have been a Friday because we didn't do a podcast about it.
What Ann Widdecombe?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Ann Widdecombe.
Yeah,
must have been Friday.
Ann Widdecombe was murdered approximately 12:30 Wednesday. The death was revealed by the police. Right. The police came across the body on the Thursday, and then they released the news on Friday. That's the sequence.
Well, it is important because if the official line is to be believed, then that's worrying. If it's a conspiracy, it means there's somebody else out there. I'm just throwing it out there.
See, Antonio,
Go on, carry on.
Just on that. No, but you make an interesting point, because I was, the thing about me is I know a lot of people, and I was talking to someone whose elderly relative lived about a couple of miles from where Anne's house was, and they were panicking because the police had completely confused them, because the police were saying, oh, we've arrested a guy, and then, oh no, we've let him go. And they're thinking, what the hell? I've got an elderly relative myself, they were saying to me. Do you know what I mean?
And the police were telling people not to speculate. Well,
exactly.
I'll tell you something. How about we come to our own weird, bizarre conclusions and get it right, and the police can go around telling people what to think and get it wrong?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Adrian.
No reconnaissance, no nothing. This guy,
yeah.
Well, a wise man once said, if it smells like, looks like, and tastes like, it must be.
Yes, but you've made the point that he gets into his car and without no prior knowledge of where she lives and all the rest of it. I'm saying it's not within the bounds of reason that he did a lot of planning, maybe weeks in advance.
Exactly.
Where she lived, what road.
There was also a program on 2 days earlier or 3 days earlier showing her house and what it was called. He only had to do a Google search, it would come up.
It was an Antiques Roadshow type program, and yes, you're right, Jed. It showed like the people from the antiques thing being shown into her house. It's quite really poignant, actually.
Also, approximately 12:30. We could probably add another hour to that. I mean, where have they plucked 12:30 from? Do you know what I mean? We could add another hour or 2 hours to that.
What do you mean?
Look,
Time
I'm
of
not trying
death?
to,
That
I'm
was
not
to
trying
do
to get
with
on
the
your
messages.
conspiracy theories. Go on, someone's talking. Sorry.
No, I think that was to do with the time of the messages from the Channel 5
Well,
producer
exactly.
trying to contact her.
Okay, no, that is a good point, because they message her and then the messages stop, and it's not like her, I understand, to not reply swiftly.
Yeah.
So that's where we've got the 12:30 from, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Well, actually, see, forensic science nowadays are pretty good at pinpointing with some accuracy.
Yeah,
the time
you're right,
of death,
Jed.
because
Yeah.
the body does things at certain times.
Yeah, you're right, Jed.
To be frank,
Can I bring
now,
Pat?
I'm sure there are other people listening that might tell me I'm wrong or might tell me I'm right. I don't know. You know,
No, you're right.
right.
I'm telling you, you're right. I'm telling you, you're
right.
right. Patty, again, you've heard what we're talking about here. You know, I mean, whenever a political assassination, because that's what it was, happens, it does raise questions, and it's legitimate to ask. I mean, initially, I remember within the first day saying this is a political assassination, and got a whole bloody pile on X for doing it. But I was right. Nigel Farage made the same point. But Nigel Farage, Paddy, was told by the Devon and Cornwall Chief Constable and by the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, that it was most likely a burglary gone wrong, Paddy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
what was taken?
Nothing. Nothing was taken.
Then that rules out burglary.
But they said it was. So, Paddy, okay.
Nah, that's yeah, it was a burglary. It was a burglary. No, burglary. It shows there's patterns to burglary. Good police work will tell you for that. That's bull. This was political, 100%.
So, Paddy, why would the Prime Minister say that to Nigel Farage if it's bull?
Because they don't want this to be. Well, why do they lie, Dave? Am I asking you? You're seriously asking why anyone would lie?
That's all they do, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and also too, because it's better it's especially with what Farage is going through, and others. You don't want to tell somebody who's in that certain. Oh yeah, she was killed because of politics. Oh, okay.
You see, the police will lie just like a cheap naffy watch, and all the squaddies that are listening to this will know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, no, they would. But let's then bring it on a wee bit. So the counterterrorism guys are now on the job. Harry Johnson says she featured on the Yorkshire auction house. Just leave that one up. Doing a small clear out. Yeah, the auctioneer guy was a middle-aged fella. That's so sad. But okay, let's move it a wee bit on, if we can, to Farage and reform, which is a point, Jed, you brought up. And the way I look upon this, I mean, so we obviously Nigel Farage and others have been demonized most spectacularly since May 7th for being fascist and all the rest of it. And Nigel got this gift, so-called, of 5 million for his security, and a lot of mocking about that. Well, I don't think they're mocking quite as much now. And also, yes, Jed, as you've just stuck up on screen, not only was this alleged political assassination of a close colleague of Nigel Farage, but a guy has been arrested in London, I understand, over a threat to shoot Nigel Farage. And also, Jed, and then I'll open it up, Farage himself has said in the past 12 months, he's had 597 death threats, right? Why isn't he given a commensurate level of security to protect him? He is obviously the most threatened person in the country, I would have said. Jed?
Because he's been the most threatened person since he was in UKIP. And then the Brexit Party and so on and so forth. And he has been. But the point I'm trying to make is the people in power, the people, behind the scenes, are all left-wing lunatics. And, and again, back to what I've said, they feel morally superior. And Farage and in his ilk, like us, who discuss these things, these issues every week, they see us as less than them. We're second-rate, we're third-rate people. Oh, with second-rate and third-rate people, you can do whatever you like to them. You can threaten them. And as Farage, and as Yusuf, and I keep saying, as Yusuf did his speech today,
Yeah,
He
I heard
just
him. Yeah.
listed a litany of threats that have been thrown at Farage and the Reform Party and Reform councillors and so on and so forth. And nothing is done because the political power that be, whether it be red or blue, the Uni Party, and including the police force and the secret services. I nearly said CIA then. Sorry, Paddy. MI5, MI6, and the entire establishment, all the civil servants are all left-wing lunatics, and therefore they see it as justification. Why? Because they see people like us and people like Farage and Reform Party as the Nazis, as Lamy has said himself. He actually said Reform and Farage are worse than the Nazis.
Yeah.
So if you have that opinion of people, then whatever people say or threaten about those people, you don't care because you agree with it.
Adrian, I mean, I look upon this event as a warning to Nigel Farage. I think this was the deep state saying, basically, watch your step, because bad things might happen. Would you agree with that, or what do you think really lies behind this?
Oh, they are after him. We had that plane crash a few years back. As you mentioned, there was 590 attacks, threats on his life.
That's right.
Now all of a sudden they're trying to destroy him with this £5 million bung, and this, I think, with Ann Widdecombe is just a very strong message that's being sent. Get in line, because if not, you'll be next.
Yeah,
kind of thing. If they took Farage out, I do think it would create a bit of a mini riot, because he is a lot bigger, a lot more popular than Ann Widdecombe would have been, and he is like one of the main voices for the so-called right.
Yeah, but is that not why they wouldn't take him out directly? They just remove a close senior colleague, as a way of shutting him up.
Yeah, shot across the bows.
Yeah. I mean,
shot across the bows are very risky things, because they tend to have the opposite effect of what you do a shot across like you kill the guy. You know what? No, we'll kill her. That'll warn him. How do you 9 times out of 10 that makes the other person twice as hostile and then fires them up even more. Although, if you're going to eliminate the target, you eliminate the target.
I don't think there was anybody else in the Farage camp that would have been mainstream enough to get a good public reaction from, to be brutally honest.
Yeah, Ann Widdecombe has been around, Adrian, you're right. She's been around from 1987. That's when she was elected as a Conservative.
How old was she?
78.
Yeah, I mean, how do you do this? I mean, it's like this is a senior citizen. This is not like us. Like we're getting up. We're getting a little bit long in the tooth.
Speak for yourself, Paddy.
But but they're this was like I said, this poor woman. Her last few minutes of her life were horrendous, and it's just like there's no excuse for this sort of barbarism.
Yeah, Grantonio, though, but I just wanted to get your take on the fact that, I think this is obviously expanded into the whole issue about Reform's security, Nigel Farage's security, the same reluctance of the government to even provide it. And what do you take about all of that,
Well, just on the point of Ann Widdecombe's age, and I understand she was still quite fiery. I went to see her a couple of years ago in Birmingham as part of that reform thing, and she was excellent. I thought she was the best speaker there, actually. And I understand she's actually was younger than Donald Trump. Is that right?
She is, a couple of years. Yeah,
but the people age differently, don't they? Right.
Yeah, some of us have still got our boyish good looks, Granton.
David and Adrian, you are both putting forward conspiracy theories, and you're showing.
You're welcome. Me,
but I would counter that with something. There is a counter conspiracy theory, and it is doing the rounds. The likes of Dellingpole and other people are doing this. They're saying this, and speaking to what Paddy's saying there. This backfires. This gives Farage an excuse to get all of that protection. Not only that, when Trump was shot at the first attempted assassination.
Yeah.
His ratings shot up during that. And I'm just putting this forward. If you guys are going to put conspiracy theories forward, I'm allowed to as well. I wonder if actually this is if Farage is deep state, and this is designed to usher him in, because all of this only makes him look good.
Right, we sit here and talk about conspiracy theories, and I'll tell you the truth. The difference between conspiracy theory and truth nowadays is about 24 hours.
Yeah,
that's what it used to be, weeks. We could say months. You know, when we were talking about COVID and stuff, we said the difference between the conspiracy, it's months. But actually now I think it's just hours. You know, and I mentioned about could it have been an inside job type thing to get rid of her? Yeah. The point is, I think James came back. No, a real spook would use a bullet. Actually, no, a real spook wouldn't, because that would be obvious. Because then we're looking for a gun, etc., etc. But to send somebody down to what's the word I'm looking for?
Could it be that the left are unhinged and they do things like this?
The left are unhinged.
That's
the
exactly it.
For years. Yeah. But to convert somebody to do that, you only need to have the person. Doctrine and indoctrination is easy. We did it in Iraq in the first Gulf. Indoctrination is easy.
Yeah, look, Jed, hang on a second. You've put up on screen there, Jed. I just wanted to just show it.
Can I come back? Which one?
The one, Jess Phillips. Because
bring it back.
It does speak. Jess Phillips, who actually up until recently was the Minister for Safeguarding Women. This was back in 2010, but this is what she said about Ann Widdecombe. Ann Widdecombe better go this week. Not only is she a little fascist beast, but also an anti-abortionist. What a lovely woman. This is the sheer naked hatred of the left towards actually all of us sensible people.
That was my point. David, please let me. This is such a good point. Well, I'm saying it. Obviously, it's a good point. Chap at work on the Friday, and we got onto the subject of Ann Widdecombe. I don't talk about politics at work because it's not that I'm ashamed of my politics. I'm not. You guys know me. I'll tell you what I think. I don't think my views are particularly controversial necessarily, but I just know what other people are like. Guy at work says, I mean, that was just disgusting what happened to Ann Widdecombe. Oh, yeah, absolutely. The only person who deserved that, this is what he says, the only person who deserved that was Margaret Thatcher. Okay. I'm like, oh, right. And I thought, no, just retreat. It's not worth asking for logic as to why he's come to that conclusion that Margaret Thatcher, who probably actually would have been an elderly woman as well when she was Prime Minister.
That's your first mistake. You're looking for logic. There's no logic here.
Exactly. So 2/3 of the British electorate in the 80s voted for Margaret Thatcher. Maybe one or two of my parents did as well. I don't know. But the point is, the chap at work is telling me that people I know deserve to die. Well, I mean, they voted for Margaret Thatcher, so why not? Let's extend that. Let's be logical. They deserve to die. And back to my point earlier, these people think that I deserve to die because I voted for Brexit, or I would have voted for Margaret Thatcher, or I would have voted for Ann Widdecombe. And the reason we don't talk about politics at work, it's not appropriate, but if you wouldn't trust these people at a building site to not warn you that there was a hazard somewhere, you would not trust these people. You wouldn't trust these people at a restaurant. If there was like a cup of a beverage that you couldn't drink for whatever ABC reason, these people would happily watch you suffer.
Yeah. Well,
and giggle while you did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Until they're caught out on.
Said, sick people.
Yeah. I think we saw it, Paddy, with Charlie Kirk. We've seen it now with Ann Widdecombe. The political left are deranged. They're moral degenerates. They delight in harm and evil, but then virtue signal and pretend how good they are. And there's no. I put a post out on it on the other day, and it did seem to go pretty well. We're not the same as these people. We are not the same. Do you know what I mean? We're not.
These are there's a large segment of the political left that are the Bolshevik Nazis, just
Yeah.
with better propaganda, and they've gotten the people to believe. They've gotten the people to, they preach nothing different than the Bolsheviks or the original Nazis did in their policies, in their beliefs, and how they should handle people who disagree with them.
Yeah.
And I'm so sick of being called a Nazi by somebody who's acting like a friggin' Nazi.
Yeah, although it's interesting though, and it's a comment I saw. Nicole brought up one of the things. Finally, we're going to move all away from this topic now, but the final thing was so strange. The counterterrorism police, when they raided the alleged suspects' home, the reason it was turned into a terrorism investigation, not just a robbery or whatever, is because they found literature, and very specifically communist literature. And again, I'm not being a conspiracy theorist, right? But I mean, a communist literature could be the Labour Party 2024 manifesto. It could be so much. I don't understand.
Definitely the Democrat Party.
Well, see, but Paddy, that's the point. It's too generic and too vague. Adrian, I don't understand. I've not been able to work out. So you've got Karl Marx and other stuff, Lenin in your room. That makes you want to go and murder elderly ladies, does it, Adrian?
But it's not just that. It's been years and years upon left figures calling for the right to be basically attacked, to be shut out of society. We've been demonized in every single aspect. Anybody now that goes against the mainstream narrative, you are a legitimate target in their eyes. And that's just the language that has been used now for many, many years. That if you don't go along with it, you are a legitimate target.
Yeah.
And they're not willing to sit and have a discussion. They're not willing to sit and listen to your point of view and try and rationalize things. It's either their way or nothing. And if they can't come around to your way of thinking, then you are a legitimate target and a threat to them.
Yeah. Well, as I say, look, this has been a huge story here in the UK. It did go around the world a bit, I think, Paddy. I think you got it a bit over your way. But certainly it sort of, when you tie it together with all the attacks on reform, the attacks on Nigel Farage, and then, of course, the Clacton by-election. And I just wanted to, excuse me, kind of finish all by asking, how do you think that one's going to work out? Does anyone think the bin could win? And if he did, what would that happen? What would that mean? If the bin won and Farage lost his seat, that's the end of reform, isn't it, Chad?
No, I don't think it is. I think that just shows the left and how the left work, because he will only win by all the left-wing parties, i.e. all other parties except reform, voting just to keep reform out.
Yeah.
And I think that can then be used as ammunition to show what the left will do to stop the average Joe, Mr. and Mrs. Joe Soap, I talk about so many times. Yeah, I know them very well because I'm the average Joe too. Stop them getting what they want, because what they want is fundamental change of the entire system. That will never happen when we have the Uni Party and the other left-wing parties like the Greens and the Lib Dems supporting the Uni Party. So
Correct.
All they're doing is showing us that democracy actually is a waste of time.
Yeah.
Because no matter what you want, we will decide what you get.
That's exactly right. The Uni Party has united against Farage and reform.
Well, go on.
Go ahead, Tony.
Well, as I said last week, that's the gimmick. Everybody's like, it's a gimmick that he's stepping down and running for re-election, campaigning for re-election. Well, the gimmick is the parties are in unison, not putting a candidate forward.
Correct.
If somehow the bin man, well, I shouldn't call him the bin man, the BBC stooge wins, they'll all be like, ha ha ha, he lost to a man dressed as a bin.
Yeah.
If Farage wins, more than likely he's going to, but it'll be like, haha, he could only beat a bin.
Correct.
So it's designed.
But no,
to
I
make
think you
him
missed
look
the fundamental point here, Grantonio. I think Farage has done this to show how corrupt the system actually is.
Or you think that's strategy on Farage? I'd like to believe that, because that's if that is the case, then that's a smart move.
Well, he started the whole thing, didn't he? Say, by the establishment is against me. So he stood down. What did the establishment do? All line up against him. So he was
Jed's
absolutely
100%
right.
right.
Good point.
And now what the establishment are going to do is vote a bin man in.
Who and they actually sneer about bin men. Adrian, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I think the left will throw everything behind Count Binface or whatever he's called. And then if Farage does lose, they'll slide somebody in to take his place who will be full on establishment and not be of the right persuasion, shall we say. It is a strange one, but again, why Binface? Why not a genuine political representative? Why does it have to be such a mock figure?
Ritual humiliation. Yeah, that's
why could they not get a proper political opponent from a different party who can stand and actually have a proper manifesto rather than, what was his comment? I'm not Andy Burnham. And what else did he say? Oh, he was interviewed at the last by-election and they asked him, and he was like, oh, I'm not Andy Burnham. He was like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Yeah. Well,
that Binface or whatever his name is, he will get a sizable amount of votes.
I wonder,
it will be a protest thing. It will be a ha ha ha.
But he can't dress like that in Parliament should he get elected.
But he shouldn't even be near Parliament. He shouldn't be.
But the point is, well, actually, I hear what Hadrian's just said, and sorry, because I know I don't normally butt in. But Hadrian said
it's very rare, Jed. Very rare you bump.
I know, David. But he said he can't wear that in Parliament. If he is voted in as Count Binface, then yes, he will have to, because that's what they voted for, not the person behind the mask. If he wants to be the person behind the mask, he needs to take the mask off and get people to vote for him. And I saw this on a political debate show. Therefore, should he then, if he wins, represent himself as Count Binface in Parliament? And yes, he should, because that's what people voted for. Well, no, that's what the left wing voted for.
Yeah, well, we'll watch this one, because obviously the by-election, I think it's on the 14th of August, so it's about a month away. And I would just simply echo what you said. One of you guys said, for Farage to lose this, he got 50% of the vote the last time. That would mean every individual and every other party would have to come out and vote. And I believe there are some Conservatives and some Labour who themselves see through the utter stupidity of, there you go. I mean, when Carol Vorderman, which is why I'm backing a talking bin to stop Nigel Farage. If this is, honest to God, this is deep state. Adrian, this is deep state. It's just one of the most egregious examples of how the deep state work. Carol Vorderman's in on it. The BBC's in on it. The Times is in on it. It's the entire bloody architecture of the deep state trying to take out one man, and it just makes me support him. Quite honestly,
for somebody who was so bloody intelligent, she's coming across as a real lefty loony, isn't she?
Yeah, she lost it years ago. But anyway, never mind. We'll move on a wee bit. We've spent about an hour on that one, and we're coming up to 9 o'clock. Just a reminder as we move into the next 30 minutes that if you want to support the show and you want to keep this one on the going, then make sure you buy me a coffee. Link below. Every penny helps. Every sip of coffee keeps me going day in and day out. So
you're a junkie on coffee, David.
You need a spot of tea. A bloody spot of tea is what you should have.
What, Paddy? What?
You should have a bloody spot of tea. Why aren't you drinking tea?
Yeah, well, okay. Buy me a tea. The same link. The same
cup of tea, mate.
The same link works, and people should use it if they want to keep this going. So I'll just say that. Right.
Coffee's an American drink, a real drink.
Right. Enough of the fascist talk from across the Atlantic. Right. The sad news. Well, I've got good news and even better news for you. Did you all see that today was Keir Starmer's final day as leader of Labour. And he spent it with his best friend, Vladimir Zelensky in Kiev, which I felt, a bromance like that, they need time together. That was touching. And the other thing that came out today was, did you see that he's released 26, there's 26 new Lords going to the House of Lords. And one of them, Lord help us, is Sadiq Khan. Sir Sadiq Khan, now to be Lord Sadiq Khan. And if ever you hated the British honour system, which I do, boy, do I hate it today when I see what's the absolute in-your-face manipulation. I'll come to you, Grantonio, on this one first, if I can. What's your thoughts on Lord Sadiq Khan?
Speechless again. Sir Keir Starmer did say that he wasn't going to hand out peerages. And you're thinking he's got only a few hours left. What more damage could he do in a few hours? You think, well, he can't do that much. And sure enough, he gives Sir Sadiq Khan a peerage. You've got to credit. He's in Ukraine at the moment. He can stay there, can't he?
Yeah, it's amazing, actually. He's been going around collecting awards. Did you see that, Grantonio? He got, Macron gave him the Légion d'honneur high award in France, and Zelensky gave him, I don't know what he gave him, some award.
Maybe he gave him a bung.
I'm not sure what it was called.
He gave him a medal for lining his pockets the most.
Yeah, exactly. They were all cheering him in Parliament. I say all of them. One side, this is the guy that wouldn't have an inquiry into the rape of children. Wouldn't call for one. This is the guy the country
because he was responsible.
Yeah, well, exactly. The country was in flames because he turned up to the murder of little girls and turned up for 19 seconds and then just decided to call everybody who was upset about it far right. The man he's a completely useless human being. Completely useless. You stay in Ukraine.
Yeah, I wish he would. Yeah, I said as much.
I must admit, I was disappointed that he didn't get the most hateful CUNT award for the decade, to be honest. That man has done more damage to Britain than most people actually are willing to admit.
But Adrian, in his valedictory speech in the Commons yesterday, he said, and this one stuck in my throat, he said, Grantonio, I need you to do the voice. He said, I leave Britain a better place than when I found it. I know. He said that. I think
he's funny. He's good. He's a funny guy. He's funny.
And look, there's him. Jed's got him saying it on screen. And look, Rachel from accounts, she's weepy again. Look, she's feeling a bit sad because she's going to lose her job next week. And there's Lammy. Well, he's taking time off.
See, the difference is Starmer can make that quote, and the reality is the media will push it behind him and will push all those things. So. What do you call it? Sadiq Khan made a Lord.
Lord Khan, yeah.
Yeah. So now this is from the BBC. A government source, notice no name, praised Sadiq as a brilliant mayor who has transformed London for the better and said his peerage was thoroughly deserved. He has cut violent crime to record lows, cleaned up the capitals there, delivered the Elizabeth line, and got London Building Council homes again. Right. Yeah. Well, none of those homes are for London, for out and out Cockneys. They're for all the illegal immigrants. The crime rates have absolutely soared because of all the illegal immigrants.
Yep.
I guarantee you, there's grooming gangs in London, but we're just not allowed to hear about it because he's been in charge.
Oh, I'm certain that there are. I'm certain London will have the biggest grooming gang scandal of all.
That's part and parcel, isn't it?
He may have cleaned. Yeah, he may have cleaned up the capitals there, but the streets are full of crap and shit and rubbish everywhere.
Yeah, but
this is gaslighting, at a maximum level.
But I think there's one other aspect to the elevation of Sadiq Khan to the Lords, and that means that he can sit in Andy Burnham's cabinet, which I think you're going to find revealed next week. So just bookmark that thought. This is more than it even seems. It's not just Starmer, backslapping Khan. This is setting things up for what's going to happen next week. So yeah, I mean that's it. Paddy, just come to you briefly on this one as well. The elevation of the worst mayor in history, certainly of London, anyway.
Well, when you were reading all that praise about him, I was trying to duck where the lightning was going to hit.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it's Lord Siddiq. It's a disgrace. There's just the words. It is not surprising. It is the natural flow of what you would expect. They have to keep it. He's photogenic. He's good. He speaks well. He's a good piece to have around. And so you got to keep him. Now, this was expected, but at the same time, too, absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that as well, Paddy, President Trump frequently has called out Sadiq Khan as being.
We called out Kerr even worse. I mean, it's like your only hope. England's only hope right now to get any kind of decent, status back is Farage, because right now Trump doesn't want to deal with any. As far as you're concerned, England's has stabbed America in the back beyond belief. You are our brothers, our cousins, and what how you've acted. Well, we're trying to say the missiles Iran has can reach you. They can't reach us yet.
No, I wanted to just put up Joe Cool's last comment there, Jed. Starmer is a Fabian. No one who's a member of that secret society should be allowed in a position of power or authority. You never know where their loyalty lies. Well, certainly Joe Cool doesn't lie with the interests of the British people. Starmer's a Fabian, so is Andy Burnham, a Fabian as well. So, yeah, and I think, Jed, looking back on Starmer's 2 years, 2 long years in power, from a huge majority in July of 24, Jed, remember we talked about it then, to this ignominious being booted out less than 2 years later. Who'd have thought it, Jed?
Well, firstly, I'm actually going to correct you there, David, because yes, it was a huge majority, but only on a third of the vote, only a third of the turnout.
34%, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, everybody else just didn't vote. That's why they won what they won. But you're absolutely right. The fact is, he's 2 years in, the economy is sinking, it's flatlined, it's on life support. I'm just waiting for somebody to come along with the 2 paddles, stick it on Parliament and say, stand clear. Yeah, because it needs it. Can anybody do CPR is what I'm thinking of the UK at the moment, because it's on its death rattles. So, and
you're right.
All they've ever done for the last 2 years is blame everything on the last 14 years of the Tories. And like I said, they're both as bad as each other. It's just that one goes quicker at it than the other. They both have the same policies. They both have what they want is the same outcome. It's just that the Tories went a little bit slower about it, and Labour are going full steam ahead. How many new laws has he introduced as he walks out the door? They're banning drinks machines now, high energy drinks now for 16-year-olds. 16-year-olds can't go on the internet after midnight. They just don't think how they're going to manage this sort of thing. I'm fed up with the state trying to bring up children.
That's what it is.
The states are not there. We have parents for that.
Yeah, you're dead right. You're dead right. And just actually, Jed, you mentioned it just in passing there, the fact that also today we discovered last month the UK's economy grew by 0.1%.
Amazing.
The previous month, it declined by 0.1%. If you average it out, that means for the last couple of months, the UK economy has been at 0%. And Rachel Reeves has been in the last week or so, before she's put it out, telling us what a marvellous job, Adrian, she's done. She's done a fantastic job. As she leaves, the economy's at 0. But maybe Fabians think that is good. Adrian.
Oh, well, don't forget, she was the head economist. She was headhunted for this position because of her years of expertise, balancing her budgets and all that, That's probably just from doing her weekly shopping. That's probably the only budget she was balancing,
But Starmer gone 2 years. Would you have thought it, Adrian? 2 years ago, when we were doing this stuff, did we think he'd be gone so quick?
We did. When you look back, I think we all sort of knew, especially after Southport.
Yeah.
Because he became so hated at that point. And I think it was Jed originally had said it's only a matter of time for him.
Yeah.
I've been saying for almost a year, I'm shocked he wasn't gone already.
Jed, if you check through my feed, you'll see, you had it there a while ago. There's a little chart I put up which shows Starmer's like favorability ratings.
Okay, buddy, I'm looking for it.
Yeah, you had it up, Jed. And just sorry to interrupt you, Adrian, but it collapsed. Southport was the key, actually, Adrian. You're dead right. It fell off a cliff. He got elected 4th of July. By August, September, he was plummeting in the polls, Adrian. So you're dead right.
There was, 60-odd-year-old grannies being sent to prison for a couple of years. Was it Lucy Connolly, the Tory?
Lucy was sent, yeah.
So the public woke up very quick to care once they saw that happening, for Facebook posts. And it's been ongoing since then. But I think for me, that was the real wake-up call to a lot of people. And that's what sent him over the edge of the cliff in the voters' eyes. And once the majority of society thought that about him, then he was sort of toxic to the Labour Party, and they just had to tolerate him. And then the first chance they got him out and replaced him with Andy Burnham.
Well, yeah, exactly. Grantonio, come to you just on the topic. Keir's he's not near anymore. He's gone. What's your thoughts? Will you miss him?
Well, he's a very good friend of mine. Like I said before, the droids in Star Wars have got far more personality and charisma. Look, I don't really care how he sounds. I care about his policies. And I mentioned a few of them earlier. Do you remember when they released everybody from prison? Well, do you remember the people from... maybe this falls on Lammy, actually, but then he appointed Lammy, so there you go. But the people, the asylum seekers who here illegally, who went missing, who escaped from jail. Do you remember all that sort of stuff that was going on? Do you remember the prisoners who were released earlier and were going out and killing people the same day they were released? He literally has blood on his hands.
Oh, yeah. Now that he's unemployed, does he have to claim universal credit? Because he'll not afford too many rent boys with the amount they pay.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
We shouldn't speculate. But there you go. We shouldn't speculate. When the police tell you something now, you just have to do the opposite. If the police told me not, if the police told me to breathe, I would stop breathing at this end. But all of this is under Sir Keir Starmer. The problem we have, though, is we have a more likable, I keep saying this, but it is a point that needs to be made. We have a more likable guy coming in, which means that the insane Starmer policies will be continued, but with a friendlier face.
Well, yeah.
But they're still disastrous policies, though.
Well, exactly. That's the worrying thing.
And we could have, and we're going to see the new cabinet appointed starting on Monday night. And there's still speculation about who's going to be the new chancellor. Is it going to be Shabana Mahmood? Is it going to be Ed Miliband? Angela Rayner coming back? It's like the cabinet from hell. It's all going to be women, by the way.
It wouldn't surprise me if they brought Mandelson back at this rate.
How can somebody now decide who's going to be in the cabinet? Because unless I'm very much mistaken, Burnham hasn't been elected leader yet. So who can decide who's going to be in the cabinet if Starmer has stepped down?
Because tomorrow Burnham becomes leader, and therefore he has the authority.
The Daily Mail is deciding, I think.
Well, that's right as well, Antonio. You're very, very true. Yeah.
So have they had the leadership contest? Have they had this leadership contest?
It's a beauty contest. There was only one so beautiful contestant, and that was our Andy. Andy, King of the North. He's the only contestant. And I mean, did anyone see, by the way, I just want to say, did you see whenever Starmer gave a speech there yesterday, did you see they all stood up and applauded him? And these are the people that are kicking him out. I mean, talk about double standards. Did you see that, guys?
Maybe they were applauding him because he was leaving.
Oh, no, but they were in tears. They were in tears, Grantonio.
Yeah, I saw some of those speeches in tears, and I thought, you've just voted him out. You've just kicked him out.
I know.
And that is it.
It's the circus. It's the grand performance. It's the,
it is performance.
It's the show for the masses. It's so pathetic that, you can't believe that they're still at the, our leaders select us. They put on this performance. It's like, oh, this the greatest. Meantime, like they all got their knives in each other and everything else. And no one's since there's no sincerity, there's no legitimacy of heart and honesty in any of our modern day politicians on either side of the pond.
Some of those politicians would make Brutus and Cassius blush.
Well, I tell you what, it made me very more afraid of and make Brutus look like a lightweight.
Well, the thing is that we're finishing one period tomorrow whenever Andy Burnham does become leader of Labour, and then on Monday. And I would urge everyone, just as a bit of a plug, tomorrow on my Substack, I've written a very lengthy analysis from day one until the end of his premiership, all the things that went wrong. It's all going to be on Substack tomorrow. But here's the thing, Jed's actually put up a good thing. Andy Burnham, it's going to be a different style for definite. He did this, as Jed says there, this is him in Cardiff, where ask him anything. And if you scroll up, Jed, above that, I had a few questions to ask him. If you can see it, Jed, there. My questions for Andy is, since he wants to start anything at all, should we deport foreign rapists? Is Islam compatible with freedom? And will you stop dingy migrants? I'll wait for an answer. I don't know if I'm going to get one or not from that one. But
where are we going to send the file when they lock you up to help you cut the bars?
I don't know.
Well, like Baldrick, you don't need a file. What you need is a little painted wooden duck, a toy trumpet to lure the kids and what have you, and that's the only escape thing. I follow Baldrick on this from Blackadder Goes Forth. Yeah, he had the best escape outfit ever.
Jed, do you think, punchline, Jed, it doesn't end well for Baldrick, if I remember the final bit of Blackadder. Grantonio,
but he has a cunning plan.
Didn't work.
The tail on it and call it a weasel.
Didn't work. Jed or Grantonio.
Do you think he'll call this general election?
No. I don't. But. No. Who knows? Listen, we do this every week, and you can never be sure, can you? I mean, Adrian, that's the one thing about politics. It's not a straight road. It's
not. But Labour have that huge majority, and the tide has shifted quite a bit since the last election. People are a lot more pissed off than they were 2 years ago.
That's true.
We see it now, people openly protesting about the migrants and all that kind of stuff. So I don't see him walking in with this big majority to call an election to suddenly maybe lose a half or 2/3 of it. I don't think he would be that stupid, to be honest.
No. There's also some worrying trends. Like, for example, it's been revealed tonight that Andy Burnham has appointed as one of his directors of comms or whatever, like a guy called Matthew Wright. Anyway, former Hope Not Hate director. So that's, I believe Andy Burnham's going to be much more dangerous than Keir Starmer, because, as you've all said, he's more relatable to. You can relate. He's from the north. He likes his footing.
Don't you dare say what I think you're going to say about him being the north.
He's the king of the north.
He's not. Yeah, he was mayor of Manchester, and I will show you. I'm going to scroll back up your feed, David.
Okay.
And I will show you how successful Andy Burnham has been as the mayor of Manchester.
Oh, I know.
When I find it, you post way too much, David.
I've got to keep the people happy.
I got a question. I got a question for you.
Paddy, go.
Burnham was. Here's the other thing. Burnham is your Kamala Harris. He was handpicked by the people, by the party elite. They're going to run everything behind him. He's not going to do. He's the face. He's running. There was no real election. He was he just got real. They put him back in his seat just so they could make him prime minister. Who's the power behind the puppet?
Sir Anthony Blair.
Sir Anthony Blair.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That's what matters. That's what matters. He is just a face.
Of you. That's exactly what's happening. He's been parachuted in. They've scratched their heads. They looked around. Who could possibly win a next general election? They've gone through everyone, and the only one they could think of was the person who wasn't a member of parliament.
And also, too, they know they could prop him up control everything that he does or say because they just gave him the prime ministership.
He actually doesn't stand for very much when you hear him. He's very vague on a lot of things. I mean, you'll hear him talk, powering up the North or whatever phrase he uses. I mean, just one thing I would say is I saw a video of him choosing. It was on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it was. He was talking about his favorite bands. And they were all like trendy bands, like New Order and the Stone Roses. And I hate that. I hate it when politicians do that. I mean, you remember Tony Blair and Britpop and all that. It was years ago. It was
things can only get better.
I'll tell you something, Jed. Andy Burnham is the only member of Parliament that I've ever heckled. And I actually shouted, "Things can only get better."
Andy.
Oh, there you go. Tell us more. Hang on. Let's be hearing this. Hey, Grantonio, the floor is yours.
Not much of a story. It was when a member of the British National Party was being voted in Manchester, and everybody turned up to protest. And Andy Burnham came out, and me and my friend just saw him and went, "Things can only get better," and he didn't like that. He gave us a bit of an evil look. So, but it was just the point I was going to make. So Nick Clegg, many years ago, was asked what his favorite album was, and he said "Changes" by David Bowie. Nobody chooses a greatest hits album as their favorite album, except for Alan Partridge. So it really bothers me when politicians try and get down with the kids like that.
Yeah. Well, okay. I want to move on very quickly. I want to jump to one American topic and then one final topic, which might give us a few laughs to finish. Just very quickly, Paddy. JD Vance. The sooner he's booted out from the vice presidency, the better.
Who?
Exactly. Given his comments, because I've picked up on it today. He went on Joe Rogan, said a lot of very dodgy Tucker Carlson-esque stuff about, Iran has gone off. Oh, my deal, the move's gone wrong. But
Vance is in that mode where every time he opens his mouth, he just takes one step further and further away from the presidency. He is like I said, Marco he had a chance against Marco before he started talking, but I mean, he's never been. He's not a Trump. He's not the same thing. He was a former Democrat. He's got a mixed background. He's what used to be the beginnings of a rhino. But I mean, he has some good points too. But he is not the man for the next job.
It's going to be Rubio. It's going to be Rubio.
It better be. Rubio or Cruz.
Well, I saw Laura Loomer, I know some people don't take her or leave her, but she's okay. But she's basically saying the comments he made on Joe Rogan, blaming Israel for Iran.
I watched him. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible.
Yeah, it really was, Paddy. Yeah, Adrian, I know this is one of your areas. What do you reckon of? Because I think Trump has maybe exposed him. What do you think, Adrian?
I don't know. I've never really taken to JD Vance. Some of the things that he said in the past I've agreed with, and then some of the things I see now I don't agree with. I know he has very, very deep connections to Peter Thiel, which gets the spidey senses tingling a wee bit. But again, I'm the type of person, I'll wait and see how it plays out. I'm actually more interested in Trump's speech that's coming later on this evening. I want to know what that's about, because he has told people he's going on national TV to deliver an address. So I'm more curious to see what that's about. But the likes of JD
about the election. It's about the 2020 election.
Yeah, I think so, Paddy. Yeah.
And it'll be about a 2020 election. And I'm praying he just names some names and not just gives out the general information. Somebody needs to have their cojones nailed to the wall. And if he doesn't do that, it's just going to be poo-pooed by the president Trump whining about the election. He has to name some names of who did what, when, and where. But then we're also going to get half the speech on Iran.
What I see with that is Trump is the loudmouth, the bluster one that just comes out and says what he wants. Well, Vance tries to be a lot more measured, a lot more calmer.
Vance doesn't have his talent.
Do you know what I mean? I think Vance is more appealing to those in the middle ground who still like.
Is this a good cop, bad cop thing? And is this coordinated between Trump and Vance to be like?
No.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't.
Well, again, right? So he got shafted with Mike Pence the last time. So why would he get shafted with a crap VP this time? Surely he would have been a lot more selective, and he would have knew Vance inside out before he selected him. Surely. So that you understand what I mean? I part of it doesn't compute.
Well, Vance is not that really. Vance is not that, and Vance is also too. If you look at what Vance is and the stances he has and what he's saying and everything else, he follows, for the establishment Republican thing. You got to remember, the Republican Party is split in half.
And this is why I think Vance is trying to appeal to the moderates, while Trump is the more MAGA hardcore.
But I think Mark Rubio,
and they're misreading the room.
Mark Rubio appeals even more. But we'll see how it works. Anyway, I wanted to squeeze in. We've only 5 minutes to go, and I just wanted to. I had to take a couple of moments in this one to finish off, because last night apparently there was a football match on. Some of you may even have watched it. Some of you listening may have watched it, and this was England versus Argentina, and it ended up with a German, funnily enough, in the form of the English manager, making the bizarre decision. You go 1-0 up. What you do then is you go full defense mode against a world-class team, and they end up beating you 2-1. And that was, Jed, the end. 1966 to 2026, 60 years of hurt. It's going to continue, Jed, isn't it?
It is, because that's what England do every time they lose. They get a goal up, and then they just go defense. And you'll get round defense eventually. If you keep poking it, you'll get round it. And I don't do football. I don't. It doesn't interest me in the slightest, and I've not watched a single game. But I knew what would happen with England. They would get through to the semi-final, then they'd fall into line, as they always have done, get a goal up, defend, and lose. That's what we do.
Yeah. Grantonio, you're Scottish, obviously. So how did you take the defeat of England last night?
Right. Well, I only know that because you're mentioning it. But we've got two bits of good news. Starmer's out and the football's over.
Yeah, bread and circuses, isn't it? Adrian, what's your take on the football thing? Because I gotta say, I was supporting England. Even
so was I.
Yeah, I was.
Like, as much as they would be bloody unbearable if they won it, a lot of those players I follow on a Saturday afternoon. Yeah. So it's hypocritical for me now to go, I hope he gets stuffed. Plus
even I was supporting them. My daughter was supporting Argentina, but I was supporting England. I wanted to see them. It broke my heart.
You had the added
Lineker was supporting Argentina.
You had the added space in the background of, obviously, the Falklands War, Hand of God. There's been a bit of history over the years. So it added that wee bit of spiciness to it. But again, England, the game was there for the taking, and the manager blew it. And realistically, does a German want the English to win it?
You'd wonder about that. I mean, Germans in Argentina, Adrian, a bit of a historical connection.
Yeah.
Well, even Lynn didn't buy a top this time.
No,
I think she knew what was forthcoming. Maybe she's got special powers, knowing what was going to happen, because it's happened for 60 years.
He was brought in to do the opposite of what Southgate done, and he done the exact bloody same.
He did. I think that's been the consensus. My wife and I sat watching it, and it was brilliant when England went 1-0 up, and then they just collapsed. They just went totally defensive, hoped that they could hang on, and Argentina were always going to go through them, and then they did.
It was quite spicy at the start. There was almost fisticuffs, which was
it's like a rugby game. Yeah, it was rugby. I mean, I enjoyed it.
You want to see that passion, that intensity in it. That this means more than just a game of football, because the Argentinians it was national pride for them, and we saw that at the end out with their flags and their comments about the Malvinas, the Falklands, whatever. Yeah. This was more than a football game to them.
Yeah. Well, listen, folks, we're approaching the end, and I'm going to wrap the thing up now, so we can finish promptly. But as always, I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank Antonio, Adrian, Paddy, Jed here in the studio with myself. I want to thank all of you guys who have been listening to this, and those of you who will listen and watch it on replay. I appreciate that as well. And don't forget, you can support me by following the link below and buying me a coffee. That's how we fund this activity. To those who do, thank you. If you haven't done it yet, take a moment and make the move so we can continue putting this content out. Final plug is check out my Substack tomorrow. I've got a political obituary of Keir Starmer going out at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So if you fancy a read with your morning coffee, that's one way to do it. But all that remains for me to be said is thank you all so much for being here. And yeah, there's some of the stuff over on the Substack, but you can go there and find lots of stuff, huge actually interreactions in the Ann Widdecombe stuff. Thanks everyone for being here tonight, and we'll all catch up with each other same time next week. That's it from me and the gang tonight. Good night.